Beautiful people, this is a wonderful time to truly tap into the true self, your own evolution, what it means to the universe, what it means to your personal life, and what you can do about it. To understand this, we step into the nucleus of your DNA, as there is many forms of DNA on the planet that have been massively manipulated, meaning there is people that have no sense of value. There's people that do not feel anything ever. They rather act like robots, so they have a severely damaged DNA, or damaged on purpose by artificial intelligences and other sources and forces on the planet, not so much into the open world, but it exists, and I'm sure most amongst you have experienced some people, or some sort of interaction with that. But let's keep it here to the importance of your personal transformation from one space of technology, psychology, emotion, everything you are made of essentially comes back to what the input in your DNA was and where you were born. So let's say the photonic synthesis in your DNA matters, especially now that science is getting into the open, that the fusion of the outer photonic light spectrums are fusing with biology, and thus the design I made up here, I did a lot of effort moving into my new skills with Cinema 4D, and I was trying to create the crystallization of photonic light. So as we are moving into the alchemy, alchemy means that we move in the chemistry, and where light spectrums start to synthesize with your DNA. And that is what we will see in the incoming months and years. There's going to be a demarcation line as the Earth is moving back in its original position, actually, and so it's returning its axis, and so are we. And with it comes a higher level of synthetics, of course, because the wars between light and darkness are going on and will keep on going on until light completely defeats the artificial lifestyles. We find artificial stuff in our food industry, we find the artificial stuff in the medication, we find artificial stuff in anything you could breathe in the environment, let's say in psychology and any educational system. It's all around us. I would love to stress here the dangers coming through with the 5G stations, especially for the young ones, and hopefully they will kick out of it and not allow it anymore, and thus also not allow too much of Wi-Fi on your cell phone and computers. And that is a way of balancing out and returning actually into the origin of the nucleus of your cell, and thus the origin of your DNA is like majestic. And so reason why I'm addressing this is because we have all the capacity now in the age of alchemy to alchemize back into there, to crystallize the body, such as in the design, because that is starting to happen, and that is what you will feel all of the time when working with your light upgrades, or what people call ascension, or what means actually that you move into self-mastering energy spectrums, energy fields, energy through your consciousness, energy through your emotional body, and returning that back into the origin means we release the emotional body and move into the higher senses at all times. So do not be afraid. This is not going to be too much of science here. It is just a demonstration that many people are already moving beyond those synthetic spaces and moving back into the omni volumes of purity. Purifying the body comes from removing everything that is old, right? We have been moving to the old for the past 5 years, like, like a bunch of lunatics, but it was a necessity. And let's be glad that all of that came up, because the more we want to attack purity, the more we will purify, because the more we will awaken. So that is the beauty of crystallization into the body. And here, talking about alchemy, it means we invert everything that was falseness, everything that was darkness, every malfunctioning in the brain and the body. Um, Needs to move back in its original synthesis. With synthesis, we mean that many photon spectrums of light start actually to crystallize while bonding silica. Silica, like we find in crystals. Everything, the computer, the iPhone, every electricity, the lights in the traffic, they are all made out of crystals. So silica is very important, and thus wearing crystals and knowing what consciousness they carry with their their physical attributes. Like some have iron in it, some have more other elements in it that are very important to sustain the body, such as we also find in the herbal kingdom, in the flower kingdom, and in many other elements. So I hope you can understand that crystals do format in this picture, crystallizing, but you see here different parts, right? So I did a lot of work and showing the different parts here, because when birding into soul consciousness and moving into ascension, thus moving into spiritual consciousness, in which those spectrums, the all-seeing eye, the omni eye, the many eyes into nirvana open up. So there's many stages to move through, but the beautiful thing here is, when willing to move into alchemy and working with light energy, because that is your origin, deeply embedded in the nucleus of your DNA, then that will move up into these light spectrums, and these light spectrums will start to quickly eliminate any negative dense consciousness you may suffer from. Everything that is negativity, that is falseness, that is self-sabotage, that is trauma, that is disease, all these things can quickly alchemize. And that is beautiful. I've been working with it now, let's say for 2 years, and I see within myself how quickly it moves from one stage into the other. So we're moving the astral planes, especially astral travel, all that soul consciousness keeps you in the falseness of creation, and thus not the purity. And so when we are truly moving beyond the chakra system that was made of to keep you cycling and cycling and cycling the same thoughts, the same lifestyle, you keep on doing the same thing without ever becoming the creator self. Becoming the creator self means you create today, you create new things tomorrow, you recreate, and you're not afraid. You do the research, you look at things that you truly love. Like here, I was truly directed, like, next thing in your creative outlet will be, 3D, 4D, 5D design. I said, oh no, this is such a difficult program. That I looked it up, I look at what people are doing in there, and I reject things I truly love, but when I feel I cannot work with people because of their consciousness, or you know, a level of explanation that is beyond acceptable, I will not do that, because that will move me out of my balance. And so here, always when doing new things, creating new things, allowing or becoming a writer, becoming an artist, becoming a teacher, becoming whatever you would like to, is truly about deciphering what you will take as an education for yourself to bring out the correct output. Because no matter how good a course can be, it can put you totally down when you don't agree on the volumes of output, or you know, the content within it. And so you need to be very careful. And you know, then I started and I made this design as well, about just to explain that everything comes back to the nucleus of your cells. And you see light parts as well in this big ball representing the earth that's scattered somehow and is reaccumulating its perfect light parts. As the earth is accumulating back into light parts, it assembles everything in its DNA. And so we can do that as well. We can reassemble light spectrums in our DNA, and that is where it gets interesting, because we remove the old chakra system once and for all, and we synthesize them like in photo, yes, synthetics, I would say. Like photonic light comes together and then it synthesizes into designs. The synthesization comes through opening the pillar of light in the heart center, and that is what I specialize in, the pillar of light. That is your true authenticity, when removing the old cells and continuously evolving with evolution into your nucleic light parts, from cells into light parts, from cells into light parts, and then it starts to spin. So the easiest way here is at least the removal through the glands, because the glands are the most important things to rewire beyond the astral planes. That kills you anyway. So there is no life in the astral planes, there is no life in artificial means. And thus, when moving beyond the artificial means of the planet, and you continuously work on, let's say, opening up your light parts that defeat the negativity in your cells, like trauma, disease, everything we suffered here on the planet, then that is completely deleted. At the same time, what the synthesization does with photonic light, it opens the heart from the first right way of purification, opening up with the crystallization. As I said, the silica within needs to bond. And when bonding happens, we can change our structure, our skin, our outlook, and we can change consciousness in no time. So that is the age of alchemy, far beyond the old rewiring of the brain, because it goes very, very quickly. Because also we reinstall the opening in the old seeing eye. The opening in the crystallization requires the eyes, the capstone, the return of the capstone, because it happens through the capstone, because the capstone is going to be your library of information, your, let's say, your database in which you continuously talk to your higher self, that will descend with your descendant essence and move that into light photons. And so here light languages play a huge part. Like today, you know, I just tone the Hebrew letters all of the time. I do know that, like in this design, the aquamarine way is a very, very high vibration, goes beyond the eternal vibrations or eternal beings that we are. And above that, we have the immortal, the eternal immortal vibrations, and the black, omnipotent, unlimited universe in which we live. And above that are the light parts of the aquamarine beings, the origin of this earth, that carry 320 trillion light parts. So as an eternal being, we start to catapult our light spectrums into 280 trillions and then move up. And but don't be afraid of that. That just happens, you know, while working with it, and doesn't take too much effort. So at least moving into a foundation where your light photons can move from the nucleus of your DNA, meaning the cells, into the nucleus of light parts. That is where everything opens up. And so you don't work from the brain anymore, you work from the heart spectrum, because the pillar of light opens the immune system from the high heart, and it's the high heart that opens the accumulation of light spectrums through your crystallization. And so I saw geometric patterns opening up to a white ray, to a red ray, a blue ray, and then a combination and crystallizing, and then I get my data through. So today I was asked to make that design so you have a larger form of understanding what it takes to move either into the light spectrums in which, you know, you claim eternal life, you claim everything that you need, and manifestations happen over time. So instantly, in a synthetic life, manifestation doesn't happen, because it requires the movement into alchemy to make that happen, and to attract the same photonic light spectrum into the many zones in the universe. So we move into the light fields, from the dark fields into the light fields, and there's many zones we can move in that assist, and we start to cooperate with all the elements, with many species. And that is how ascension actually happens today. So alchemizing from the cells into the nucleus of light body parts is essentially where your life will move very quickly in the new spectrums, where you start to recognize, to know yourself. I am that I am, right? But here you start to know what is the I am. That is the full spectrums of all universes within you, right? Because the macrocosmos needs to match the microcosmos within, and that is how the within, everything within opens up. So that alchemy into the capstone of creation is very important along the new tree of life. Like if we look at that old tree and those dense spheres, doesn't make sense. So when I have time, I will definitely create a crystalline new tree of life in which we all move, and then we have that full spectrum of that first geometric pattern that is termed the Makiva, moving far beyond the Makaba, because that's all stuff doesn't work anymore, which is quite natural in evolution. So here, for those, if you're interested to move into light spectrums and to remove yourself from synthetic living styles, which we find everywhere, and that is very interesting, because I have a free webinar here if you're interested to know more about the alchemy, moving into the new tree of life. There's two videos in this introductory webinar, also about the importance of removing the emotional body, because without it, we cannot move into the higher light senses, and higher light senses are truly a necessity to open up your own databases, to become your own channel, to open up the many eyes within. And I've seen this morning as well that like I have installed the capstones for many years already, but it opens up new capstones and new capstones and new capstones. So it has a format of a triangular equation. Again, you see the all-seeing eye in the triangle opens many other triangles, and within it other spectrums. So there is when you start to see and you speak to people and you see their consciousness inside, or then life becomes very interesting, because um, what will happen in the end is we are truly living in a very, very large transition as the earth is moving into its purified axis and its origin. So we need to move into that spectrum in our DNA, into the origin as well. And if not, there will be a large, yeah, I think an evacuation is going to happen anyways. And with what you can do, if opening up into light body and straight into the alchemy, reconnecting with the nucleus of the planet, the nucleus of the universe, the many alpha omega stations within, and simply toning the Hebrew letters, you can go any way, because with it you start to understand how ways can actually debunk, eliminate very, very quickly old consciousness. You can defeat consciousness at any place you may find yourself on the planet presently. So, and what happens with it, that when opening up the artificial intelligence, like there is no, I don't think they can ever defeat light body, because light body, at least when moving into the celestial universal embodiments where the alchemy happens instantly, that will, you know, reflect back to the so-called robots. They will not be able to deflect that, because it is a science that has been held back. And when that science is on the planet, artificial intelligence would not exist at all. So it makes, somehow it makes sense, right? Let me know what your view is on artificial intelligence, because you know, if they need to move into sympathy and knowing your entire brain working with you, oh damn, no, not for me. Thanks, because it's so much programmed. And yes, I don't think it's going to come true anyways, but I'm afraid too many are moving into 5G. That is disastrous for consciousness. And like the awakening has been so long, so here is the very, very fast lane into the origin of your consciousness, removing everything you have ever lived before. And with it you can teach it to kids, to you know, your family members. You can teach it on the job. You can, you know, you can change everything, because it's all within the crystalline grids overriding that huge matrix, that the crystallization will happen, and thus moving continuously within a crystalline grid, and toning ladders opening up into the new crystallization of the new tree of life, the new light body. That is where the alchemy happens, in the nucleus of your cells, turning them instantly into light points. And there is where the training starts off. So that kind of foundation is a great necessity. So definitely hop on to my website and have a look at that free webinar. It's very interesting, because if you decide to do so today, your life will change 360 degrees, because I do not allow anything old. When we look at, you know, you just open your computer, I haven't seen any course into light degrees that open up the alchemy. It's all the old chemistry coming through, and the old chemistry doesn't fuse with new light environments and the requirements to moving back into your origin, because the origin states differently, so it doesn't make sense at all, these old teachings. So I wouldn't dare to do that. That is, you know, if you don't feel the changes within, you will not see them in the outer world. And it means that with the crystallization of your own consciousness, your own body, and moving into such a spectrum, then it's like you fire spectrums of light out of you, and thus you defeat all anything that is falseness, betrayal, and so on. And then your life becomes interesting, because you can also teach it to other people. And that is being required of us, moving into co-creation with each other, partnering up, finding your own team of light on the planet. And thus that is where the new architecture of the universe comes down. Remember, the aquamarine dream team, it is called, is actually, yeah, the aquamarine cities I've seen all my life, but I didn't understand it. Now I do. And so from understanding comes insight, from insight comes change, from change comes new living light, photonic spectrums, from new spectrums comes new perspectives, from new perspectives comes your new life. You start to live instead of being lived on the planet. So let me know, what is your view on artificial intelligence? Do you believe in it? Do you believe it can overrule the old world? Do you believe that light beings can be stronger than those machines? I would love to know that. So other than that, thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you're interested at least in the science of yourself, because that is what I will bring through. I am a genetic encoder, and thus I do a lot of healing work. I go directly into your genetic pool and pull out any density, disease, or malfunctioning you may have in your brains, going beyond trauma and the old mental barriers. So I opened up like many new courses, small meditational alignments, to remove all those old mental barriers, should you not want to move into a light body. At least working with those meditations are very interesting. So there's a link there to my platform, meditations and alchemy, light body foundations, moving into a grid. And also definitely consider subscribing to my newsletter, as I bring a lot of free form expression and new information out there that has been blocked on YouTube. So yeah, thank you for supporting yourself in the first place. That matters most. And thank you for supporting me and sharing, subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much. For those who want to support my scientific work, there's a link in the description as well to my PayPal. Thank you for that, as well, as it definitely means a lot to me that we all move together into one platform, and that is how we start to assist each other and move on with evolution, in which we gather into the unified fields. That is the ultimate goal, called the oneness, whatever you may term it, but it needs to open from the pillars of light in your heart and no longer the chakra system, because they are separate rooms creating separation. This is a unified field creating unity. So I hope this made sense, and I hope to see you on my website. Thank you so much for being with me. I'm SharlotChi, logging out.